Hey guys, it's Joe, and I wanted to tell you the story of how I got into writing, how I got into National Novel Writing Month, and why I still do it. So, to start, I wanted to be a writer since I was a little kid, mainly because I was obsessed with reading. I started reading when I was 3 years old and read so much that when I was in fourth grade, I read 75 books during the school year, and somehow Lord of the Rings was one of the series that I read, though I'll be honest, at that age, The Hobbit was much more my speed. Lots of walking in politics for someone who thought Animal Farm was actually about animals. My dad recommended a lot of books to me that might have been a little bit above my pay grade. It was also in fourth grade that I started writing, if you don't count the picture book I wrote when I was 5. It was a great ripoff of The Magic Tree House in a similar fashion. My first novel was a ripoff of, I think it was Meet the Penderwicks or just the Penderwicks. I don't know if anybody else who's read that. It's a pretty old book about four siblings who were just hanging out. But I really loved it, and I completely jacked almost every element for the plot of my first book. So somehow after that, I did start coming up with my own ideas, and I never stopped writing after that. I used to come home every day after school, and having paid no attention in school because I was writing in my notebook, I would transcribe everything I'd written in my yellow spiral bound to the family computer for hours at a time. I built myself a writing website when we were assigned to build one using Wix during technology class, and even came up with more book ideas that, well, even though they went nowhere, I was generally completely obsessed with trying to come up with new ideas and writing as much of them as I can, though for most of them I never got past 1,500 words. A few of my favorite ideas that I got rid of from back then were a girl who wishes on a magical necklace to be a fairy, and then the fairy possessing the necklace grants her wish and eats her soul. Four girls who discover a lake in one of their backyards actually connects to a deep, deep magical ocean and is full of mermaids who are at war over a prophecy. That was during my H2O era, so mermaids were top of the list. And a girl who finds out she's a changeling because elves and fae start talking to her on a bus, and they have yellow eyes and cold hands. I did manage to write 18,000 words of the Mermaid book. That was the one I got the furthest into. But reading it back, it's a bit sloggy. I really thought that you had to write how characters got everywhere, so there's a lot of walking and eating meals. That fatal flaw carried up over to middle school, where in seventh grade I started a rewrite of one of my old ideas that would eventually get to over 50,000 words. You know, seventh grade, eighth grade, and a little bit of ninth grade, of me trying my best and writing as much as I could and editing the beginning over and over and over again. That was during my Percy Jackson writing phase. I really wanted everything to be hyper realistic, super fun, super bright and poppy, it probably shows. The plot was very much a ripoff of Harry Potter, The Magicians, and a little bit of Percy Jackson. Very much a sorting hat book. So I actually fell into that writing and editing trap for a while. I would edit and edit and edit over and over and over again, thinking that all the words that I had written were gold, they just needed tweaking. And even though I would end up deleting the first chapter and writing a new one over and over again, somehow I didn't take that as a sign to just take the plot and write it all from scratch. I knew that the idea I had was good and the writing I had was bad, but I was determined to polish the turd. And the turd eventually grew to 100,000 words when my friend told me about National Novel Writing Month. The goal for National Novel Writing Month was to write 50,000 words in 1 month. The number of words I'd gotten to over 2 years of writing this book, a number I couldn't even comprehend writing in a single month. She didn't either, since she'd not made it the year before. But we decided that year we were going to do it. We were going to win National Novel Writing Month. Technically, with National Novel Writing Month, you're supposed to start a completely new story, but there was a badge for being a non-traditionalist, so that's the route I took. I sobbed when I finally got to the end of the first month. I was so exhausted and so proud and so full of adrenaline from verifying my words just minutes before midnight, because that's something that you used to have to do. On the website, you had to paste in all of your words, which now that I think about it, it's probably good that they stopped doing that, because how do they keep that secure again? Anyway, the sense of accomplishment that I felt that night was more than I had felt about myself or my writing before ever, and I had to do it again. Every year that I did it was challenging in its own way, and you can see my video. I wrote 8 books in 8 years. No, sorry, in 8 months. If you want to check out more about my National Novel Writing Month stats and stories. But every year I got a little bit more comfortable than the year before with my writing. By this last National Novel Writing Month, I finished a couple days early even. And I didn't really get the same sense of accomplishment from finishing the 50,000 words as I used to. So why am I doing another National Novel Writing Month, even though it's not November, when no one else is doing it, and no one is going to pat me on the back, and there will be no video saying, "You won"? Why am I doing it again? Why am I doing it all by myself when I already said that this goal has started to feel boring to me? Well, because this last 50,000 words didn't finish my novel. I want to finish my novel. It didn't feel like I really accomplished a goal because I don't think I did. My novel wasn't done. I started to realize that it's not just about writing the 50,000 words. It might even be worse to finish the 50,000 words and never finish the novel. It's great practice, but it's like sculpting a vase without baking it. It looks great and it looks useful, and you might get better at the pottery wheel, but it's not practical, and you're missing out on a huge skill set necessary to be a potter or a ceramic artist. You're not glazing or baking, and the whole thing could actually fall apart when you actually try to bake it. The same with a novel. You can think that you've got an amazing start, but when you try to get to the finish, you have no payoff, or you have no way of wrapping up your character's motivations and goals. So that's why I want to keep writing. I want to keep doing 50,000 words a month until I finish my book, and then I want to edit 50,000 months until the book reads well. And then I want to try to get it published, because this latest book is my favorite concept yet, and I've learned so much from writing all of those years. I may have written over 600,000 words in the last 15 years, but I'm no expert. According to the age-old adage, you need 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. I would have needed to write for 2 hours a day every day for the last 50 years to get close to that goal. If I had to guess, I might be barely halfway to that. Maybe much, much less if you don't count any of the outlining and planning it takes to get to the actual writing itself. But National Novel Writing Month means everything to me. Not just the month, but the concept, and what it's helped me to realize about myself. The confidence it's given me is so far beyond anything I've ever experienced, and gets me to put pen to paper so that maybe someday I can get those 10,000 words. And I want to. I want to finish my novel and all the other novels I have rolling around in my head. I want to get published and let other people read those words, because they mean so much to me, and for the first time, I really think someone else would like to read them. So that's why I'm doing it, and I will keep you posted on my progress and my writing, and maybe one day the plot or the editing. And thank you so much for listening. So like if you like this, and feel free to subscribe. I've got lots of other videos on writing and art, and maybe I'll do something like this with art.